Hi everyone, and welcome inside the CrossFit Gym in Scotts Valley. This season we're going to be giving you a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to bring the CrossFit Games season to play. We're going to start that effort with a three-part conversation with the General Manager of Sport, Dave Castro. Dave, thank you for joining us. First off, why did you think it was important to sit down and pull the curtain back on this year's game season?
There's been a lot of changes and a lot of moving parts, and a lot of things go into creating the season and creating the spectacle that is the CrossFit Games and the accompanying season. So in the past, we haven't really done a great job of showing the community and the world what goes on behind the scenes. So I think this year and going forward, it's a good idea to do that, kind of demystify some of the process and let people see that actually some of the things they say and some of the things they ask for are taken into consideration and oftentimes applied to the season and the event.
I'm excited to be a part of uncovering a lot of that information. What are you most excited about with the Open this year?
I'm excited that we're doing it. I'm excited that we are kind of normalizing our season and our path forward in this chaotic time. And you know, there's a ton of challenges. Challenges for us, challenges for athletes, challenges for the affiliates. But in spite of all of that, we're still going forward and we're still gonna put this amazing event on, put this amazing show on, start the season with this foundational piece of it all.
And I would say as an affiliate owner and as a lover of the sport, I really appreciate your effort to do that, because I think that for most of us that own affiliates, it really is the most exciting time of the year. So having said that, what is special about the Open to you?
Well, the galvanizing and bringing the community together. The Open, unlike every other stage of the competition for the game season or for the games, you know, when you look at regionals in the past or sanctionals in the past couple years and then the games, those are great and amazing events, but they don't bring the entire community together to the degree or the level that the Open does. That's what really excites me about the Open, is just how, you know, everybody can do it and everyone who wants to play can play, and all the gyms rally behind that and motivate their members and motivate their communities to participate in it.
Right, it's kind of our chance to be a part of the season physically,
for sure.
Not just as a fan. How many events will occur in the Open this year?
That's a great question. So the Open is 3 weeks long, and so you can assume there'll be 3. Possibly more. Time will tell.
That's a classic Dave Castro answer right there. I love it. So this year there is an equipment and an equipment-free option, and we've all seen that. So how will those that choose the equipment or the equipment-free option be compared on the leaderboard?
Well, right now, what it's looking like, the equipment-free athletes or the people who have to go that path will be on a separate leaderboard. We're looking into a lot of options and that could change, but currently they're not going to be on the same leaderboard as the RX, the Scaled, and the Foundations.
Got it, got it. Can you provide more information about those that choose the equipment? In other words, like what size dumbbell, how much poundage and plates?
Yep. So the dumbbell, we put one in that picture when the iconography originally came to us, or came to me. It had 2 dumbbells, and I said, let's remove the second dumbbell and let's just have 1 dumbbell, because that's what's going to be needed for the Open this year. So that gear list that we put out, that little icon, was true to the amount of equipment we'll need in terms of the dumbbell, just being 1. And it's going to be the standard 50 pounds for men and 35 pounds for women.
And then there's also a barbell, and there's plates.
Yeah, the plates is kind of open-ended. Have plates.
Okay, have plates. Make sure you have more than 2.
Yep, make sure you have a variety.
We've seen the RX division, we've seen the Scaled variation. You added a Foundations variation this year. Can you explain the difference between those 3? We've
typically had RX and Scaled throughout the years, and starting about 2 or 3 years ago, I kind of saw the need and kind of heard chatter for an additional scale. And we, for the past few years, have been looking at potentially adding it and just weren't able to. And I thought now was the right time. And technically our team was able to pull it off. So we added the Foundations, which essentially is just that, a 3rd scale. So there's RX, scaled, and then foundations, which is more scaled, further scaled.
And would you say that the whole equipment-free option is what's going to lend to that, or
Well, so no.
is that separate?
So here's RX,
Yep.
here's scaled, and here's foundations. This scaled version is talking off of the RX version.
Right.
This foundations is talking off of the scaled. And so basically in terms of loads, reps, these will all be similar and just scale down. Over here for the no gear, or just, I'll just say no, this is an entirely different track.
Got it.
So so a lot of people, even on our team, were thinking, well, are these similar?
Right.
Not necessarily is the
Okay.
answer. This will be more similar to this and this than it will be to the, and I know no gear isn't the right terminology that our team is using, but we'll just say no gear for now.
Got it. That actually really clears that up.
Yep.
So this is something that as an affiliate owner and as a coach, I often struggle with. It's very dependent on an athlete. But would you recommend that somebody try it RX? If they, if this is their first, second year in the CrossFit Open, as the general manager of sport, would you say, yes, go for RX?
I mean, that's such that question depends so much on the individual, right? And so as the coach, as the and client relationship, they have to have a discussion. The coach has to understand what the client's capable of. And, if they're there, absolutely. Even if, sometimes you have clients that will bias towards the scaled that need a push to do the RX, and the coach should make that push. Other times you have clients or athletes that will bias towards the RX and they should be scaled.
Right.
So there's a balance there that is so unique to each individual that, I can't give an an answer just to cover that.
Right, got it. Any advice on how athletes should prepare for the Open this year in consideration of lockdowns, COVID, gyms closing, people having to do it last minute out of their house instead of a gym? Any way you can help guide the general public on that one?
Just make sure you're staying consistent, make sure you're training and training with intensity, because intensity is never missing in the Open. And so, the Open and what we typically test in there uses core CrossFit movements. So there's some guiding principles you can look at for your training that will put you on the right path. But constantly varied functional movements at high intensity and you'll be fine.
Got it. Is there anything else that you want to let us know about the Open portion of this season that you think that we didn't cover?
No, it's going to be a great challenge. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of options. It's going to be hard for people to even do some of these, but I think this is an opportunity for everyone to kind of reset, rally, and maybe start or continue to get reset on their fitness path with CrossFit and get back into it. If, with all the lockdowns, they kind of took a break and weren't able to, let's use this as an opportunity to dive back in and just go for it.
Right. And I would say, after years and years of participating in the Open and being a spectator of the Open, every year you've come out and said, oh, this year's going to be different, or this is going to be the toughest year. And admittedly, I've been like, yeah, right, what else can he do? And I will say that every year you have surprised me and done something different. So I really look forward to what this Open 3 weeks could bring for us.
We have some good things coming.
I believe it. I am now a believer.
It'll be a good test.
Excellent. So moving forward from the Open, we have something brand new this year, and it's called the quarterfinals. We've never seen the quarterfinals in competition thus far. Dave, can you tell us what the quarterfinals are?
So the quarterfinals, I'm really excited about that phase, actually. It's going to be an additional test to qualify the appropriate athletes to the semifinals. And the quarterfinals is going to look a lot like another weekend online test, kind of like phase 1. And it's going to take 10% of all the athletes from a given continent. So we broke up we have North America, we have Africa, Europe, Asia, and South America. And so North America, for example, in 2019, in our last Open, had about 130,000 participants. And so 10% of those would advance to, in that year, would have advanced to the next phase. In Africa, they had about 4,000 or 5,000 participants. So 10% of those will advance to this next phase, which is the quarterfinals.
Got it. So it is relative to the amount of participants on your continent.
So the more people that compete in these events, the more people that are, or in these continents, the more people are able to qualify to the next phase. And so 10% of the North America, if you go off of traditional numbers, will have a lot of athletes competing at the quarterfinal level, if they so choose to. It's shortly after the Open, and it will be a comprehensive test with, as you can imagine, that is probably scaled up or more challenging in terms of loads than you typically see in open programming. And at this stage, we are also looking at the athletes need to have access to a full complement of equipment. So the gear list that we used for the Open was that, and now we're expecting you to have access to more gear and things like rowers and maybe rope climbs and just a full complement.
Got it. So there will eventually be a gear list provided for these athletes, but we can assume that you need to have access to a fully stocked gym at that point of the competition.
Yes.
Excellent. Can you talk a little bit about what the team quarterfinals will look like?
Well, so then after we do the quarterfinals for the individuals, we're going to have quarterfinals for the teams, and same sort of thing. We'll take 10% of the teams in a continent, and they'll advance to this next stage, and it'll look like team workouts. So it'll be the same thing over the course of a weekend, kind of like how we've done the team series in the past, where we'd program team workouts that people would do virtually and at their gyms. We're going to use the same sort of concept, and the teams, the athletes, will have to be together, and they'll do them together, and they'll be ranked across everyone else in their continent for advancing to the next stage.
And that will be run on a separate weekend as the individual quarterfinals, so potentially somebody that made the individual quarterfinals could also compete in the team quarterfinals?
Yes.
Excellent. Is there anything else about the quarterfinals part of the competition that you want to let us in on right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of good athletes and a lot of great athletes that are out there that, especially in some of the past ways we've done it, where they qualify from the Open to regionals, a lot of athletes are left out of a next step. Well, here, especially with the 10%, we're giving a lot of athletes who are really good but not quite there yet to go to an additional step and to compete again and to compete with, let's say more weight and some different tests against some of the top guys. So I'm excited about that additional opportunity it's providing past the Open for athletes who are really serious about it or on the verge of really wanting to be at the next level, for them to play with the big dogs.
I think that's a great point, because for the athletes that I've seen inside of our gym that are very novice, after about 3 weeks of the Open, they're done. They're ready to be done with the Open, and they have 2 more to go. They've signed up, they want to complete it. And then you have, like you said, on the other hand, you have these athletes that are fringe athletes. They might not make it to regionals back in the day or to any of the other sanctionals that had happened, but they're so close to qualifying, and they're still hungry for more. So I think the quarterfinals is a great way to kind of to alleviate that discrepancy between your everyday athlete and your athlete that's just on the cusp of qualifying.
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you shedding all of the light on the first phase of the competition. That would be the Open and the quarterfinals. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you.